for me, security was important. For my wife, security was important. I wasn't just going to quit a job to go into a flexible income. We need stable income.
You probably had health care.
Exactly. I was already incorporated in 2002. So I had health insurance. I had 401k. There was no way that I could drop all of that. And I had my second son at 18. So I had 2 kids at the time. I just bought a house in 2019 or in 2001. So there's no way. I was like 19, 20 years old.
You need to know what you're going to make every week.
Exactly. Yeah. I have bills. I have kids. I have responsibilities. And it was important for my family to be able to feel stable, right? And tattooing was, even still, is not stable. Like it's not a stable thing.
Still
it's variable.
Kind of an entrepreneurial act.
Exactly.
Like, independent contractor.
Yeah.
No 401k, no health insurance, and no guarantee you'll ever stop working.
Shit's about to go down. I'm feeling something in my spirit.
Chats and Tatts with Aaron, Della, Vedova.
Hello, friends, lovers of tattoo. Welcome back to Chats and Tatts with me, your host, Aaron Gale, Della Vedova. I've never said my middle name on the show before. Yeah, first time. My middle name's Gail. Yes, I could be a girl on paper, which is awesome. I love that. Anyways, I'm on a weird tangent. Don't know what I'm doing right now. I am sitting in studio today here in Pasadena, California. I'm at the Golden State Tattoo Expo, and I'm having the distinct honor of meeting a lot of great tattooers who are here for the same reason. The gentleman I'm with today, he's from Gurnee, Illinois. He's been tattooing for 30 years, same amount I've been tattooing. So I'm sure we're going to know and share a lot of stories in common. And what does he do? He's a custom freehand lettering, which you'd have to go and check his workout because I don't think you fully understand what I'm talking about here. It's a kind of a next level lettering situation that he's doing over there. Really dope, super rad, and you got to check it out. But he also does black and gray realism. He was telling me earlier, it's like a 50-50 split, but amazingly talented with a kind of a unique story of how he found tattoo. So I want to hear that story and a bit more. With all that being said, please welcome my guest today, Angel Bustos.
Thanks, man.
Good to have you. Thank you for taking a little time. I know you're down there busy tattooing, and we found this little gap that we could hang for a minute. So I, appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, for sure.
But let's get right into it. I mean, your story of, obviously today you are a highly respected professional tattoo artist, but you've been tattooing for 30 years. And what I just said is really only been the last 10. Not to say whatever you were doing prior to that didn't count. I'm sure you were doing amazing tattoos before you went into a formal professional studio environment, but there was a lot of years where you were not working in that way. And I can tell you've got a story there. So let's hear. How did it all begin? Where does a tattoo machine end up in your hand? And how did that journey go to get you where you're at today?
So 1994, I had an older brother. He was 3 years older than me at the time. Someone taught him how to make a homemade tattoo machine and brought it home. I was already an artist. I was already drawing letters. I had been drawing letters for a few years. Probably, I think I remember like 10 years old in 5th grade drawing like book covers, paperback book covers that I used to draw letters on that and just names and everything. So I was always drawing letters. He came home with the machine and he was like, dude, you got to tattoo me. So I think my first tattoo was my last name, Bustos, across his upper back, which is like the worst idea ever. And it was shit. Like it was the most worst, terrible tattoo. But that's kind of how we got started.
I got to say, I did one of my first tattoos on my brother on his upper back.
I
forgot about this. I'm halfway through this tattoo and I realized I didn't put rubber bands on the machine. So the needles are just in the tube flopping fucking everywhere. I'm like, this thing doesn't work as good as I remember it working.
Yeah, that's funny. I remember when I got my first coil, I didn't know how to use a grommet. So
just metal on metal.
Metal on metal. I was like, how does this work?
Oh, God. But oops, sorry. Thank you to everyone that let us learn on you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so in 1994, that's, we started tattooing with homemade machines. That's kind of how he moved around, kind of how he made money. He wasn't really, much of like a artist. He was definitely a tattooer. I mean, he tattooed everybody in the town and knew a lot of people and moved around that way. He tattooed for money, tattooed for like places to stay, maybe some weed, some beer, whatever, That's kind of how he moved around. And, me being his little brother, just kind of moved along that same path, just tattooing my friends, his friends. So we both tattooed a lot back in the 90s. I was in like middle school. I was in middle school.
You're tattooing people in middle school.
I was in 8th grade tattooing.
I think you're the first person I've ever met that tattooed that young.
Freshman year, walking into school with like one of my like best friends at the time.
So I got to ask,
just
dude,
like
if
showing off tattoos and shit.
You're tattooing 8th graders. What kind of neighborhood are you living in, dude?
It wasn't.
I grew up in a middle class neighborhood. Nobody was getting tattoos.
It wasn't like that. I mean, it wasn't like we were in like the slums or anything like that. It was literally just like either like family or like friends of my brother.
Okay.
You know, I'm not really tattooing like 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds. It was more like the older kids that were getting them, the 16-year-olds, my brother's age, like that type of stuff. But and then when I got into high school, we're a little bit older. We're 14 now, and you know, high schoolers. If you look at high school now, kids are like tatted like sophomore year, like full sleeves. Basketball players are just, you know. So, anyways, high school, you do a tattoo on like some of my really good friends. Walk into the school and be like, you show it off and be like, "Damn, who did that?" And then be like, "Angel did." Okay, so let's go get some more. You know, like. So that journey, you know, that was that path from like 94 to 2001. Mm-hmm. So in 2001 is when like things changed. My brother got sick and passed pretty fast. It was like a 2-month illness from when he got sick to when he passed. So it happened really fast. It's not like he was slowly in that realm. But he passed in November of 2001, and everybody kind of looked at me and was like, "Hey, you know, you have to continue to tattoo. Like you can't stop tattooing." Like I said, he tattooed a lot of people. I tattooed a lot of people. They're like, "You just have to keep going to keep his name alive," essentially, right? So back then, I really didn't have any like other purpose or other goal. I mean, we were just tattooing. Like I said, it wasn't like we were doing big production. It's not like we were doing even quality big tattoos. It was just tattooing at the time. That same year, we had just got our first coil machine.
So before this, it's all homemade machines.
All homemade machines.
Rotaries, little rotary motors.
Little rotary motors.
Okay,
you get them out of remote control car, Walkmans, train track sets or something, just whatever had a motor on it.
And then I don't know much about homemade machines. So the needle's like a needle bar that you sharpen.
No,
you had groupings.
Oh, there was some evolution in that. Yeah. So that evolved over time. When we were doing them, we would wrap thread around the needle, but not like you would use them in jail where you would poke. Right. And that's where the needle that was like your needle depth, where your needle was wrapped.
Right.
We would wrap the needle, but only to stuff it inside of a pen tube. So the inside of a pen tube where the ink is held, it's like a plastic tube.
Right.
We would just kind of force the needle into that, and that's what would keep it stable. And then within that, you would make the entire machine from that.
So all the work is a single needle production.
Essentially. Yeah.
There's no, you guys weren't soldering groupings together.
No. We would, get a pack of sewing needles at the time, and sewing needles comes in different sizes, different gauges. Right. So we could only use like maybe 2 out of a pack of 30. So we would buy new packs of
just to get the ones that you
to get the ones that we needed. And then, we would constantly buying those. So we would make those. Actually, it's on my Instagram, like a video of homemade machine that we just made a couple months ago. And it was a very nostalgic feeling,
experience.
It was
30
incredible.
years now.
We haven't made a machine. I haven't made a machine since it had to been 2001, from right before we got that coil. So 23 years.
So you get your first coil where? How?
Website.
Just some website.
Think it was, I mean, I can.
You remember the brand?
I think it was Superior Tattoo Supply. Or I don't think Huck Spalding was.
They were around.
I think it was Superior Tattoo Supply. And then, I mean, there's also like local shops. And
so you get your first coil machine, and you probably get some tubes, and you probably get some needles that are not singles.
Oh, yeah.
So now you've got some 7 mags and shit. You must have been in heaven.
I had no idea what I was doing. Like I said, I didn't even know how to use a grommet, So, I mean, like I said, everything changed around that same time. Like we got our first coil machine, my brother passing, and all of this is new to me. I've always been tattooing, but I've always had a job because I have 2 sons that we had really young. So I was 16 when I had my first son. So I've been with my wife since then. We've been together for 30 years. When I had my first son, I wasn't just going to tattoo for money. I really needed to work and get a job and support. So I've been working since 95, 96. So tattooing wasn't always like just a form of income. It was literally just something I enjoyed doing on the side, and just tattooing our friends. Obviously, like if you're young in high school and tattooing somebody, you're like the cool kid. So if I'm tattooing, I'm just going to tattoo more often. Just tattoo, just try to get better at what I'm doing. Just doing letters on everybody. So again, tattooing was never just for money.
Mhm.
Tattooing has always been as a passion and always been something just to do.
Yeah, because you could have dropped it. I mean, you had a real job. You could have just walked away, but you just loved it too much.
Oh,
you enjoyed doing it too much to walk away.
Yeah, there's no way I could ever have stopped. And then again, my brother passing, everything changed. I was working in food. I was working like Papa John's. I was a store manager at like 17. Because I always wanted to progress. I always wanted to, be a manager. I always wanted to make more money or whatever. And then in 2002, just after my brother passing, I left that industry, that food industry, and went into like corporate. And in 2002, I got into like collections, like an entry-level collections job for an e-commerce company. And in 2003, I ended up transferring into the advertising department. And I got into getting into web design and graphic design. I'd always been a graphic designer from like high school. I learned how to use like Photoshop and stuff. And in 2003, I got a job in advertising and got into web design. And that had been my path along with tattooing for the next 20 years.
I just thinking of you like, because along this path, when you're maintaining your real job and tattooing out of passion, the industry is coming alive. You must have seen it bursting around you. You must have known, like, I can go. Didn't you ever have a thought like, I wonder what would happen if I just actually went to a shop and started working at that level? I mean, I don't know where you were living. I'm assuming where you were living, shops were popping up and people were making decent money as tattooers.
Yeah, I don't think I knew the financial part of the tattooing business at the time. I live in a town where we have, I think, the largest naval academy, naval base. Great Lakes I think it hosts boot camp for the Navy kids. So it's a big Navy base. And that's where tattooing was like popular back then. Now they're everywhere, right? But back then it was literally just around the Navy base because that's where kids were getting tattooed. Exactly. Yeah. So, I had went into the shops, but I was probably, 18 at the time, late 90s. And I was interested in going and learning how to work in the shop and, developing that craft. But back then, nobody was really looking at young kids to just take them in and give them an apprenticeship. So I went into a couple and they kind of just like, pushed me away or whatever. And after that, I was like, I didn't really need tattooing. So I just kept my head down and just did what I was doing. I had already had a job and I knew for me, security was important. For my wife, security was important. I wasn't just going to quit a job to go into a flexible income. We need stable income.
You probably had health care.
Exactly. Yeah. I was already incorporated in 2002. So I had health insurance. I had 401k. There was no way that I could drop all of that. And I had my second son at 18. So I had two kids at the time. I just bought a house in 2019 or in 2001. So there's no way. I was like 19, 20 years old.
You need to know what you're going to make every week.
Exactly. Yeah. I have bills. I have kids. I have responsibilities. And it was important for my family to be able to feel stable, right? And tattooing was, even still, it's not stable. Like it's not a stable thing.
Still
it's variable.
Kind of an entrepreneurial act.
Exactly.
Like, independent contractor.
Yeah.
No 401k, no health insurance, and no guarantee you'll ever stop working.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's partly the reason why, I never really wanted to go into that field or that, because I would have had to quit my job, the stable income.
Yeah, I get it.
And
so then the question for me is, why do you change your mind? When and why do you change your mind?
Well, okay.
Did I skip something?
About 20 years. So there was a lot within that 20 years, but only I kind of want you to understand that tattooing and corporate and my work life simultaneously were full time.
Okay.
It wasn't like a.
So you weren't just tattooing a little, you were tattooing full time.
I was tattooing a lot. I wouldn't say full time, but it was a lot. And it took
Plus you still had your 40 plus hour a week job.
Yep. 9 to 5 in the office, let's say. And then, come home 6:30 PM were my appointments to whenever, so I worked a lot.
For those 20 years.
20 years.
Wow.
The last, let's say 10 were probably the most busy because I progressed. I started to get better. And over time, actually, what really got me there's a couple steps. But in 2014, the state of Illinois found out that I was tattooing out of my home, sent me a letter, said, hey, you can't do that. If you want to tattoo, find a legal establishment and do that. So at that time, I was already, I've been tattooing so comfortably out of my house forever. And that just sparked an interest in me to build my own studio or to open my own legal studio. So I did all the research, applied to open a shop. reconstructed the shop the space that I found and built on my own private studio in 2015. So now I'm working still corporate, 9 to 5 in the office, but now I have, instead of going home to tattoo, now I have a
you're
private studio
still doing
tattooing.
both these things.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Corporate. So
That's just incredible because I mean, looking at your portfolio, and it's just shocking to know at this level of tattooing that you're creating, you're still working your 9 to 5.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know any tattooer at your level that has a job outside of tattoo. Maybe a little thing on the side, but not a full-time career.
9 to 5, web design, loved it, get paid well, health coverage was great. Who would want to drop that and give that up? So it's too stable.
Yeah.
But I love tattooing. So I opened my private studio by myself. Small 300 square feet space. And I did that for 9 years. And at a point, we had talked about, my wife and I had talked about quitting my job and opening up a bigger studio or doing it full time in the past, maybe 2018, 2019. Because I had already been doing it for some years. But it wasn't the right time. For us, it wasn't the right time. We knew we needed to do more to be able to live the life that we live now, which isn't, we're still tattooers. We're not,
Your wife's a tattooer?
No. I mean, I'm still a tattooer. Okay. I'm not like, a billionaire. But so in 2022, we talked again. We decided now might be the right time. Both of my sons had started tattooing. So I have 2 sons, 26 and 24. So about 5 years ago, my eldest son started tattooing. He also had, I have a grandson. I have 2 grandsons. So he too, I think just was searching for what he loved to do. He had the jobs. He worked like I did, here and there. All kinds of good jobs, but never really loved anything. So he got into tattooing. So now my space becomes a small space for 2. And it was only just built for 1. He gets into tattooing full time. He fell in love with it. Still tattooing today. Progression is great. It's amazing. So now I have to make space for 2. My younger son also started tattooing. So now I need to make my small space into 3 for 3. So now we're in there for like 2 or 3 years. And it's just like, both of them, my youngest tattoo's part-time, my eldest tattoo's full-time. So it's just, the space was too small. 2022 we were like, okay, let's do this, quit my job, started traveling a lot more, doing a lot more conventions, started to travel to Europe, but also simultaneously trying to open up a bigger shop. So it took about 9 months to get the keys and then 9 months to build. And we finally opened up the Black and Gray Tattoo Studio in March this year. So now I have a large 2,200 square feet space, big enough for, 6, we could fit 10 artists in there, but I have 6 stations and that's where we're at now.
Fuck yeah, man. Wow.
Yeah, so I quit my job in 22.
Finally quit. You finally let go.
Yeah.
That must have felt good.
I think I'm still like in that honeymoon, of feeling like it's so brand new for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm going to forever feel this way only because I've worked it so long, like the web design.
That's cool, man. That's a definitely not the normal path, way different. Than
I told you it's definitely different for sure.
Well, congratulations on your, what's the name of the studio?
Black and Gray Tattoo Studio.
Black and Gray Tattoo Studio. That's dope.
I spell it different though. It's like my brand.
Are you wearing it?
This is Black and Gray.
I see.
BLK
XGRY. XGRY. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool, man. Well, yeah. And it's cool on another layer too. Like I have children, I have girls. Neither of them have any interest in tattooing. Actually, I have an older son too. Neither did he. And not that I would ever make them, you encourage them to do it really. I just, hearing you're working with your sons in this shot. It's like a family business. That's gotta be cool to be able to, 2 birds with 1 stone. You want to spend and create memories with your children. Mm-hmm. But if you're in there tattooing with them every day,
it's an incredible feeling for sure. Like definitely not something I take for granted. I worked a lot when they were young. Like I said, I did the office thing that went to either I was tattooing at home or tattooing at, the studio when I opened it. So I feel like we're getting a lot of that time back, So it's really cool.
Yeah. Working 2 jobs for 20 years, you gave up a lot of time with your kids.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're getting extra time
exactly
at an age when most people are saying goodbye to their children.
Yeah.
So you flipped it.
Yep. It's crazy, man.
Script.
I mean, the same thing with like us having kids young, We had our kids young and my son has his kids young. He was 17 when he had his first son. So
very cool.
But that's all they knew. And again, we never even talked about them tattooing. It was never a thing in my house. I never wanted them to actually get into it. Yeah. I know how unstable it is. And I don't want them to do it. I didn't want them to do it full time. it's not a stable thing, especially with kids. You know, like I said, I'd worked it for so long. I never wanted to do it, but you know, he fell in love with it, man. And I can't take that away from him.
No, once tattoo gets into you,
Yeah.
good luck getting rid of it. It's
Yeah.
like a disease, man.
It's like golf.
Oh, you play golf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, would you-
I don't even want to. I don't play golf because I look at
Shit,
it and
you
I'm
hit-
like, I ain't got that kind of time.
You hit one good shot, man. You're hooked.
Oh,
degenerates over here, man.
Golf is a time consuming. I'm going to do golf when I am not working as much someday. Maybe I'm going to be the old man golfer.
Yeah, for sure.
But not yet. I got too much going on for golf, you know. That's really dope. Well, you know, that, and then we get into like, here you are, you opened your studio recently,
Yeah.
and right simultaneously we've got, you know, all these shutdowns happening, and then the economy gets weird, and everyone in the tattoo industry is like, where are all the, you know, it's slowing down.
Mhm.
So how do you feel towards that? I mean, because you finally risk to get into this full time, and right at a time when I think it's fine personally, but I think a lot of people are wondering if it's going to be fine. So you let go of the security at a time when, do you feel that, or do you don't?
I do. I definitely did. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what was happening at the time. I was in my own high. I was, you know, getting ready to take this another big step in my life. And I wasn't really paying attention to the economy. I was stable because my tattooing time was very limited because my 40 hours was dedicated to work at the office. And then my tattooing time was like 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, maybe 7 hours a day, 1, 2 in the morning I would finish, wake up, go to the office. But I was booked for months because my time was very limited. But when I quit my job, I didn't realize how much more time I would have to tattoo and how all of those 6 months of appointments would condense into 1 month. Right. So now I'm not booked out so far. So I didn't understand that at the time. And again, I'm traveling. I'm just riding this high, man, just doing the conventions. I'm at I think I do like 20 conventions a year or something like that now. Like it's pretty busy now and it's close to it. But I wasn't paying that much attention to it. And sure, I think everybody feels it. I think everybody's feeling that, you know, and who knows if it's the economy or not or what it is. You know, it could be the oversaturation of new shops and new private studios opening and people just, it's more accessible for people, you know. But I think for us, like we have standards and we have, especially with, you know, me teaching my sons, our standards are pretty high and I try not to bring them down to meet, you know, what everybody is looking for. I think if we can still provide that good quality service and, you know, just being good people and having an experience, like a shop to have an experience at, I think that'll attract, you know, the clients that we want and the clients we're looking for. Yeah. So, I mean, sure, everybody feels the economy, or the flux in what we're experiencing, but I don't know. I think it's fine. I think it's going to be fine.
I agree.
I think if you just keep your head down and do the good work that you're supposed to do, I think everybody's going to be fine.
I agree. I mean, we might be getting into a little bit of karma right there. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like the universe keeps track of our deeds. And if they're coming from a truly heartfelt space with authenticity, hard work, all the good qualities of a human being, you might have some ups and downs, but ultimately over the long haul, it'll be up. Yeah. So yeah. I do agree. And then, you know, this whole slowdown or whatever you want to call it in the industry, you know, I look at it like a bit of a cleansing. I think there are a lot of people who it's just a fun little toy they're playing with. And maybe they're just going to go away, and maybe they should go away.
Yeah.
Then we're going to be left with guys like yourself, guys like myself, and the industry will just straighten right out. Of course, economies are good and bad and good and bad. So maybe it's not so good now. It'll be good later. And yeah, maybe it's a good thing that it got tight here for a little bit and see who wants to stick around this party. Oh,
definitely. For sure. I mean, there's definitely people who aren't going to be able to stick around, you know, people who want to get into it, not understanding, you know, what it takes essentially to be, you know, who they think they want to be. You know, they may not have that in them, you know, and who knows? I think, like you said, I think eventually a lot of things will move around and some people will just jump back out of the industry and it goes back to, you know, kind of the way it used to be. But who knows? You know, we just have to adapt, you know, with what's coming. And I'm literally just thankful that I'm still tattooing, you know.
20-ish conventions in a 12-month period. What's your why?
Oh man, I love this shit. I don't know. Can we swear on this?
Yeah.
What does you do?
Oh yeah, all the time. Fuck.
Man, I love this shit, man. You know what?
You love what? You love travel.
I love the
you love community.
I love the community, man.
Oh,
I think
because at your shop, you see clients, but you ain't hanging out with your tattoo
the community, right? I got my kids, and when they come with me to the conventions, it's even greater. It's even better. But we have a community, and I have a network of people that I love to be around. And it's great. Again, it's hard because I'm still away from the family, from my family, and I'm still doing a lot. But at some point, I know what I'm doing is not for the bad. It's obviously for the good, and for the progression of the brand, for the team, for myself. And, every time I go to a convention and come home, I'm talking about every time, come home, and I'm just like hella like inspired to do more. It's always I don't care what convention it is. It could be a small convention, it could be a big convention, it could be a overseas convention, anything. Just inspired.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I mean, I get it. A lot of people doing it, but man, that's a lot. That's a schedule you don't hear of people doing very often. I mean, that's like every 2 weeks you're gone again.
Yeah. Once I learned how to travel, shit became easy.
You got it down to a science.
Easy. Yeah. If I'm traveling alone, like not with the team, not with the Black and Gray, network of artists that we have, I'm traveling with a carry-on and a book bag, and I'll be gone for a week.
You're lucky you're a Black and Gray artist.
I know it.
You see my portfolio, right?
I know it.
I have a whole suitcase just of fucking ink.
Yeah, that's fucking wild. There's no way. You catch me with
why I didn't do as many conventions, because for me to go to them,
it's so hard.
Way more of a hassle.
Oh, man, I have, and I started working with rotaries, so I don't need to carry
power supplies.
I don't need to carry multiple coils.
You could fit your whole tattoo, everything you need in a backpack.
Everything I need to tattoo, everything.
Yeah.
Including an armrest if I needed it. Can fit in a backpack.
Yeah, that's dope. And you got to get it down to a streamline if you're going to move around as much as you're moving around. That's dope. Well, yeah, tattooing is what it is right now. I think the future is always going to be there. Something this loved by humanity. It doesn't just go away. And the people that are really, really passionate and lovers of it, they're going to keep on doing it for the foreseeable future. I mean, I don't like to use the word forever. I don't know what people are going to be into in 1,000 years, but I'm pretty sure in the next 100, tattooing ain't going nowhere.
No.
I mean, there is some strange activity around the progression of AI and stuff that you wonder how it's going to affect. I mean, I get it. We're craftsmen. I think it's a long ways out for a robot to be able to do a sleeve on someone, or a machine that you put your arm in and pull it out, and there's a perfectly composed fluid project on the arm. I'm not saying that can't happen, but I don't see that in our time. So no matter how you deal with this AI thing, because, I look at your lettering, which is very unique to you, but the reality is I could take a bunch of pictures of tattoos you've done, and I could feed them into a little AI generator, and I could have a client that and says they want these letters, and boom, it's going to spit me out a design that looks just like your shit.
Yeah,
and as long as I'm a technician, know how to put ink in skin, I'm now you. So this is just something I bring up to a lot of tattooers, and nobody likes this. Everyone's just like, I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Nobody likes it.
I don't like how you said it.
Yeah. Trust me, the word, it's hard for them to come out of my mouth.
I just felt my life is just like a whole other universe. All of it is bad.
But that is true.
Oh, man, it's so true.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot more tattooers. I'm not saying they don't love tattoo as much as us, but the need to be an illustrator or to come up with a unique voice of art that is theirs might start going away. A lot of people are like, Aaron, people won't want that. And I say to them, I think a lot of people are less discriminatory as you might think. The idea that they don't really care where I got it. They're just like, that's dope, put it on me.
Shit, we don't need AI. That's literally now. Like, people just don't care. People just don't care.
Some do. Some are like, I need to get a piece from Carlos Torres.
Exactly.
Even if I mimicked him, they'd be like, well, I don't care. I want Carlos to do it. You know, those are collectors. Those are connoisseurs. There's a huge swath of people getting tattooed that are like, I don't give a shit. In fact, this is better because I can't get in with Carlos and you don't charge as much as him.
Right.
So there's that thing that people, I hate to tell anybody, like, I believe in freedom. I don't believe I have the right to tell somebody to not do something, but it does hurt my heart because of the the pain and suffering that I've put into this craft, and to know that someone can just kind of come in and ride it like that, it bothers me. So yeah, I don't like it. Yeah. But what am I going to do about it? There's not much I can really do about it. Yep. And how much am I going to cry about it and talk about, go on their pages and tell them they're pieces of shit? Yeah. I'm not going to do any of that either. Right. It's not in me to do that. So we'll just let this thing shake out. But maybe it will probably come back to some level of being rewarded for being authentic. That seems to be the program of the universe. Like, it doesn't seem to let us be rip-off artists forever, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I definitely agree with that sentiment for sure. And, you know, there's a lot of people who are gaining notoriety and gaining clients based on their ability to use TikTok or their ability to use, you know, the algorithms and the way that people can see them. And just because they can do that, it can't last forever. You know, I think what we do, you know, being the technician, being the creative on your own, it has to go a long way.
Well, I put another layer on there. Like, tattooing it's a really hard job on a lot of levels. It's physically difficult. It can torture your soul. Like, if you're not getting the art on paper that's in your mind, it can. So there's so many times to walk away from it for a person who loves it. So then if you take a person who's just reproducing other people's work through an AI generator, well, I don't think they're going to be sticking around when the times are even a little bit tough, right? Yeah. The people who stick around when times are tough must have a deep, deep, deep-seated love for tattooing, and that's why they're still there. No matter how hard it gets, they're still there. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how many stick around when they don't have that level of passion. I don't think you can. I mean, if you're just going to reproduce other people's stuff and put it on people, well, that's a cool little con you came up with. But a con isn't going to drive you in life. Right. You know, it's not going to give you the passion to get up and work harder than someone who's actually making that product and they're not a con. Yeah. So I think that will filter down through there too. And
oh man, I just wish it does. I just wish it happened sooner than later.
Oh, we all do. Yeah.
But you know, what could you do? Like you said, I'm not going to.
Well, we'll start a union.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
There you go.
I'm kidding.
There you go.
Oh, who knows? Maybe that is the answer. Like, to be a part of to be a professional tattoo artist in a professional studio, licensed studio, you know, we have to go through and verify all your work is yours.
Oh, stop.
You know, we run your whole portfolio through an AI sensor.
Oh, God.
Be like, oh, you just had your license revoked because all your shit's been stolen from all these other artists. Okay, I don't know.
Oh, that would be nice.
I definitely am not for more regulation. That sounds like a regulation to me.
Right.
Whatever. This industry is always going to be wild and free.
Oh, man, I love it.
Yeah, I do too. And if you want to be a part of something that's wild and free, then you got to be okay with a little bit of chaos and a little bit of bullshit. Yeah. If you want to get rid of all that, then hell, go be a doctor. Guess what? Nobody else can doctor with you unless they do exactly what you know. Right. But here, come one, come all. And and that's the beauty of it. But come one, come all means you're going to get some riffraff, you know? Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. That's very cool. Well, respect to you for not being one of those people and for creating your own voice. Thanks, man. I look at that letter. I have a guy that works with me, Deft. I don't know if you know Deft.
Oh, yeah.
You know Deft?
Well, he's here.
He's here. Yeah. You know him?
Yeah.
Lettering specialist like you. You guys, two different looks to your work. But it's rad to see that as a genre that people highly respect. Because I got to be honest, man, when I was a young tattooer, lettering of any nature was the just bullshit walking that you had to do to pay the bills that day. Yeah. I don't think any of my peers ever regarded it as art. Oh, yeah. Art had to be an illustration. Yeah. Art had to be a drawing of a skull or this or that or that. Yeah. And lettering was just blah. But I was wrong. And as people have taken it and made it an art form and figuring out what you can, graffiti can, help this a lot too. I'm sort of going, damn. It is art, you can do so much with this stuff. And I know you also do black and gray realism, but it's pretty dope to see people making a whole tattoo career out of lettering in itself.
I feel like I identify as a lettering tattoo artist. That is who I am. That was my first art form. And, again, I didn't realize that it wasn't a thing that people understood and people that really don't understand lettering. But, this community, man, I think we've made a lot of progress in showing the world that what we do is just as difficult as neo-traditional or full color realism, with all the techniques. They're just different.
Mhm.
You'd never see like best of days or best of shows with lettering pieces
Mhm.
because they're going up against 2-day black and gray realisms or something like that, or full color realism or something. Lettering is never that. But I think for me particularly, I started to enter the contest, the best of days, because not everywhere has lettering contest. Here at Golden State, there's no lettering contest. So how can you showcase lettering if there's no lettering contest?
No category for you.
There's no category.
Yeah.
So I had to enter in like best of days. So in 22, I believe I won Friday best of day with the lettering piece
Up against neo-trad and
Exactly.
everything else.
So that was when, for me, I knew that the progress that we've been making with lettering and how creative it's become, and the ability to freehand on a limb that flows nice and well, and those type of compositions, we're doing by hand. We could do it on an iPad and place it, but it's never the same. Freehanding is always better because you get better flow. And I started to notice that people were understanding a little bit more. Lettering is hard. Lettering is difficult. And the people who do it well, it's more difficult.
It's art. It's what you're saying. And to win a best of day against neo-traditional people, that was like a moment of acknowledgement that that's art too.
Incredible. An incredible feeling. And since then, I've lettering categories and lettering artists have just become, oh my God, they're just incredible. Yeah. Dude, they're incredible.
It became a genre.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
It is not just the fine line script or the, Old English. Mm-hmm. It's incredible what these people are doing. Mm-hmm. Kids too, young. Mm-hmm. Oh man. So that is my life. That is who I am. I'm a lettering artist, and I am a fan of what is to come these next 5-10 years for lettering.
That's cool.
I would love to see, and I can't wait to see a lettering piece take a best of show at any convention.
It'll happen.
At any convention. I don't care what convention it is. It could be a small convention. Doesn't matter. I would love to see a lettering piece
it'll
at best
happen
of show.
Because you're right. People are taking it to another level.
This weekend at Golden State, if you guys are, I don't even know when this is going to air, but if you guys look back at this, in my booth, we're doing an 8-artist lettering collab on an upper back. So 8 lettering artists that are with us, in the black and gray booth. Insane project. 3 days, one client.
Are you down there today working on that project?
I'm finishing it today.
I want to see that. I want to see. Obviously, for you, this is taking it to the next level moment.
It didn't start with me. I was fortunate enough to be a part of large lettering collabs in Europe. We did one in Italy last year in November. We did a leg from thigh to ankle. 7 lettering artists, 7 words, the 7 deadly sins. Each artist got 1 word. That was a full leg. In Naples this year, again in Italy. These kids are amazing in Italy, dude, I'm telling you. In Italy, we did a 10-artist lettering collab from shoulder to hand. A 10-letter word, said dedication. Each artist got 1 letter. And I don't know, our community, I know specifically I can speak for lettering community. I think we come together a little bit different. Mm-hmm. The way we can collaborate, and again, because it's all freehand, we can move things and connect and collaborate a lot easier. And when they come together like that, it's incredible. So I knew that since I did it, I've been a part of them. I know what they can create. I know what we can create when we come together. I said, I got to do it. I have to bring it. I have to do one here. Have to. American artists, I'm like the only American in some of these collaborations. American artists can come together and we can do the same thing. We can create this incredible piece of work with 8 people coming together.
That's fucking rad. I'm going to come check it out.
Yeah. Check out my Instagram too, because you're going to like those. The collaborations on there are incredible.
I just kind of browsed through because I knew you were coming up today, but I'll spend a little more time in there. Definitely. Definitely.
They're amazing.
Well, mad respect for me. You're getting that from a neo-trad guy, a color guy,
Thanks, man.
Maybe guys like me don't think what you're doing is anything. It's not art. I do not feel that way. Like I said, one of my favorite artists at Guru Tattoo is Deft. And I have nothing but mad respect for lettering and freehand lettering. I get that. Yep. It definitely lends itself to freehand. All tattoos do, but let's face it, some of these ultra complicated, like portrait work, you do portrait work. Yep. That's not a freehand situation. Yep. I mean, maybe for somebody that's just a wild savant, maybe, but it's not. But lettering is, and certain types of tattooing is and should be. And it's rad that you're doing it that way.
Thank you.
So mad respect to you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on finally becoming a professional tattoo artist.
Thank you.
After 28 years or whatever.
Crazy.
It's funny to say that out loud. And thank you for being just a cool dude with a great story and willing to share that with me and my viewers, man. I really appreciate it.
Man, I wish I could tell the story more because I know it can resonate with a lot more people. I'm not the only person that has that story. There's a lot of people that have a similar story.
I'm sure they're out there.
And they are. And hopefully when they hear this, they'll, comment and, hopefully maybe share some of their story through the comments, or maybe eventually you can get to interview them and they'll be more open to be able to share that, their experience like that.
Yeah, I think for a lot of years, some of them probably don't like maybe talking about it's kind of like shameful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I felt that way for a long time too.
Right.
So I know
I've never been that guy. Like, obviously I grew up, I had 3 apprenticeships, went straight into professional shops and now own shops. But none of us really like the idea of people in their garage hurting people, which can happen, but there's people in shops hurting people too. But one thing I've always said is, look, only the ones who really love it and care about it and have the talent are going to rise out of it. I don't know. I personally don't care how where they came from. If they're producing and doing it the right way and making people stoked and creating beautiful art, I'm not the old school guy that's like, you didn't have an apprenticeship, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. No, I'm not. Never.
I think my life was my apprenticeship.
Yeah. And it was. Life is all of our apprenticeships, It shapes us, into what we are. But it's definitely a unique story. And you're right. There's probably a lot more out there. So if you're interested in telling that story, just know that you've got a non-judgmental dude here who would love to hear it. But mostly I just want to say thank you for giving me the time. I'd love your work. Keep that work up. I know you inspire a lot of people and make a lot of people happy with your tattoos.
Thank you.
So that's what this is all about. Sharing that love with others, that art with others, collaborating with other people who aren't art or not in our careers, but they get to be a part of art with us. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Tattoo's a beautiful thing because of that. You're part of that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
Instagram, Angels Tattoo, ANGELSTAT and the number 2. Also, I'm 45 minutes north of Chicago in a small town, Gurnee, born and raised right there. And then you can kind of find me everywhere.
Around the globe.
Here in the States and just Europe. I'll do a few shows out there. I got a few shows coming up in the next couple months out there. But I also got a few shows out here. So just follow the Instagram and check my profile, my bio. I usually post my dates in there where I'm going to be.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. You guys know where to find them. Check them out, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.
Chats and Tats with Aaron Della Vedova.